It is Thursday, December 14th, and the Splash Zone is back in your life with another 4 NBA player props to hammer for tonight's NBA betting slate. Again, we're talking Thursday, December 14th. I say Splash Zone, meaning who's going to splash around and get us wet and who's not. And as I mentioned, I have 4 NBA player props for you guys for tonight. Before I can get into those picks, I do need to do a recap from yesterday, which was great. We were in a mini slump heading into yesterday, and we broke out of that in a small way yesterday. I gave out another 4 picks for you guys yesterday. Zion was one of them. He ended up not playing, so that one just got refunded. No harm, no foul there. On the 3 plays that actually did play, I went 2-1 on those 3 plays, up 1.29 units. I was a weird Maxey game away from cashing all 3. I had Maxey 30 plus points. He didn't even get to double digits, but we did get we did get Giannis to come through for us over 35.5 points, and we got Julius Randle to come through for us, scoring more than 25 points as well. That brings our total profit season to date to plus 13.5 units. So we're up 13.5 units with an ROI of 11.89%. Obviously, ROI over 10% is great. I'm looking to increase that even more with a good night tonight. If you are not already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Helps me out a ton. And then for this video, comment, let me know your thoughts. If you like my picks, if you hate them, if there's plays that you like tonight that I did not mention, comment that as well. And then like the video as well. And then we can get right into it. Let's see who's going to get us wet tonight. The first play, I should say, that we're going to lock in here in the Cavaliers versus Celtics game. We're taking Kristaps Porzingis under 20.5 points, plus 105 odds at DraftKings. So looking at Porzingis, he has been good for the Celtics. I'm not going to say I'm fading him because he's been bad, but this is a number that he's cleared in 9 of 17 games this year, so just over half. But what I thought was funny and what I thought was interesting, in 5 games this year, he has finished with exactly 21 points. So literally 5 times, if you had taken him to go under 20.5, you would have got by the hook. That includes him scoring exactly 21 in 3 of his last 4 games as well, which is kind of crazy just how he's hitting exactly 21. Even without Mobley in the lineup tonight for the Cavaliers, the Cavaliers do still have a very good defense. They can still perform well on defense even without Mobley. Overall, they have the 8th best defense in the NBA in terms of net rating, and they allow the 7th fewest points per game in the NBA as well. Now, looking at this specific matchup, as I mentioned, Porzingis has scored exactly 21 points in 3 of his last 4 games. That includes the most recent game that he just played, which happened to be against the Cavs, as the Celtics and Cavs literally just played 2 days ago on Tuesday, in which he scored 21 points. So this is part of my strategy that I love for the NBA called the flip-flop strategy, where basically whatever happened previously, bet the opposite of that immediately after. So because these 2 teams just played each other, it's a way you can kind of bet the opposite of what happened the last time these 2 teams played. Granted, the flip-flop method is generally supposed to fade outliers. So, if Porzingis had gone for 35 points, it would make a lot more sense. I will admit this isn't a true flip-flop strategy, as because he only had 21 points as opposed to smoking his over. But I will say only 2 of the last 7 centers against the Cavs have gone over their point total over-under. That includes Porzingis, who scored 21 on a 20.5 point total over-under. So I like fading for him tonight, getting him to go under 20.5 points as our first play. Next up, in the Bulls versus Heat game, I'm taking DeRozan under 24.5 points. This is at minus 115 odds at BetRivers. So this is going to be the only play that we have tonight that is not a plus money banger, but I absolutely love fading DeMar in this matchup. Really, any chance I can get to fade the Bulls and roast the Bulls is something that I'm going to enjoy and something that I'm going to take advantage of, because first of all, they're just a joke. So we have that. They're just a joke. But looking at DeMar specifically, he's only gone over this number in 6 of 23 games this season. And that includes 2 games against the Heat this year in which he went under, scoring 23 and 15 points in those 2 matchups. Now, generally, I actually like to fade those types of trends because it makes me nervous when someone is so heavily going one way or the other, aggressively over or aggressively under, than betting that to continue. But I do think that makes sense for this game. Number one, to be clear, this is not a flip-flop strategy method because the last game they played was on November 20th. So there isn't any recent results to fade there. And I think DeMar's point total is inflated because of how good he's been in general with the Bulls, where he was averaging, 30 points a game, close to that. But he just hasn't been that good this year, really, at all. And despite all the injuries that the Heat have had this year, they're still a good defense, because that's just how the Heat do. They have their whole team hurt, and they still play good defense. They allow the 9th fewest points per game in the NBA. So yeah, not the best, still above average, top third in the league. And I also like the fact that this is going to be a very low scoring game in general. The under is pretty low, so it reflects that. But the Bulls play at the slowest pace in the NBA, and they play by a mile in the slowest pace. And then also the Heat play at they're 24th in terms of pace. So they also play at a pretty slow pace. Again, the low total does reflect the fact that these teams play pretty slow. But even with that, and even with Zach LaVine being out of the lineup, I'm not scared off of DeMar. DeMar's only gone over in 3 of 6 games that LaVine has missed, so exactly half. It's not like he's consistently gone over. So I do like fading him in this matchup against the Heat as our second play. Next up, now we're starting to get to some overs here. Warriors versus Clippers. James Harden, 20 plus points, plus 130 odds at FanDuel. As much as I love to clown James Harden and the Clippers, I have to admit they've been playing much better recently. They started 0-5, so it's hard to be much worse, but they've been playing very good basketball the past couple weeks or so. Looking at Harden specifically, he didn't even get to 20 points in the first 4 games he played with the Clippers this year, and he only scored 20 points in 2 of the first 11 games. Since then, he has scored 20 plus points in 4 of the last 7 games. That includes the last time these two teams played each other, in which Harden put up 21 points. In the game before that against the Warriors, he scored 18, so didn't get to 20, still had a pretty good game. And the Clippers have been winning games. They started 0-5, as I mentioned. Since then, they have gone 10-3. And what was a line in the sand between the 0-5 and the 10-3 start, which you can kind of, as a clear differentiator, Russell Westbrook moved to the bench, clearing things up for James Harden in the starting lineup to be more of the facilitator and the starting point guard, the ball control kind of guy. Now, 20 points for Harden. It's not like he was in his heyday when he was averaging 35, whatever that was. That was ridiculous. But I still think he can get to 20 points, even despite being the starting point guard. The Warriors defense not only is going to be without Draymond, who is suspended indefinitely after another psychotic breakdown, but the Warriors also in general are just not good on defense. They're specifically not good against point guards. The Warriors allow the 4th most points per game, specifically to the opposing team's point guard. And that's going to be James Harden, right? He's the starting point guard for this team. And now, especially Paul George is going to be questionable in this game. If he's out, that would lead to more scoring for Harden. Even if Paul George plays, I would still like Harden to go over, getting 20 plus points for us as our third pick. Next up, 4th and final pick of the slate. In the Thunder versus Kings game, I'm taking De'Aaron Fox, 4+ made 3-pointers, plus 190 odds at FanDuel. It's my last play of the evening, and I absolutely love backing De'Aaron Fox from deep in this game. And he's turned himself into a pretty good shooter, which I always respect. He came into the league out of Kentucky not as a good shooter, turned himself into a pretty good shooter. So I always kind of respect that. On the year, he's only cleared 4 or more 3-pointers in 5 games. So I will admit that there is a little bit of risk here, but we're also getting it at plus 190 odds. So we're paying for that as well. Last time we saw De'Aaron Fox play, he had a rough game out from a scoring perspective. He only scored 14 points. Granted, that was against the Clippers, who, as I mentioned, the Clippers have been playing well recently. Their defense has been on fire as well. But even in that rough game, he managed to make 3 3-pointers on 7 attempts. So at least he was still firing away. Prior to that game, the previous 2 games prior to that, he had made a combined 9 from deep. So he was shooting well prior to that game, and even in last game, 3 of 7 isn't bad at all. On the year, he's averaging over 8 3-point attempts on the year, making over 3 per game as well. The reason why I like backing him tonight is specifically because of the matchup against the Thunder. The Thunder have a good defense in general, but one area in which they struggle is allowing the opposing point guard to make a lot of 3-pointers. On average, the Thunder allow the 4th most made 3-pointers specifically to the opposing team's point guard. So I like for Fox to come through for us from a 3-point perspective. His over-under is 30.5, which was just too high for me to back. So I like backing his 3-pointers. And that's all we got. 4 plays for you guys to lock in. If we can get any combination of 2 to cash, we will at least be profitable. If we can get more than that, we will be very profitable. Let's hope we can get all 4. If you're riding with me, make sure to comment and let me know. Other than that, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.